Hey everyone, welcome to Bourbon Bums, presented by Greene Valley Wine Spirits, 344 Commons Drive, Bolingbrook, Illinois. I am HBIC, the head bum in charge, along with Master Taster Baloney. And fellas, do we have a doozy of a bottle for you? Woo!
A doozy is right.
It's the Four Roses 2024 limited edition small batch.
Full disclosure, I did not expect for us to be reviewing that this year. When we do these reviews, a lot of the times I try not to see other YouTubers' reviews or anything like that, so that we don't get subliminally or purposefully notes in our head.
Yeah.
That came and went. I watched 20 reviews on this thing because I didn't think we were gonna get it. How did you get this bottle, Jay?
Oh, I had to sell my soul, and I had to trade a couple things for it, but I have a good plug who happens to do some good stuff with trades, and I just reached out to him. I said, "Hey, did you get a chance to get a Four Roses in limited edition this year?" And he said, "No, I don't have one." And he's like, "What are you offering?" And I can get you one. And I'm like, "Well, if you can get me one, here's what I'll trade you." And within a week, he had his hands in it. So I gotta shout out my plug. He came through and got me one of the bottles that I missed out on this year, and this is the one I was hunting probably the most during allocated season was this Four Roses, because we got notes.
Yeah, you got notes. I'll talk about this for a second while you pull up those notes. It's something that every year in and year out, we know this is going to be a banger of a bottle.
Yep.
If you guys watched our Bourbon Bums, Meet the Bourbon Bums video that we posted just last week, this is one of Aaron's favorite releases every year, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So I do have behind Baloney's shoulder, I do got the 2022 edition. I missed out on the 23. So we got the 24 in tow now. So now we get to do a little side by side. So, all right. Everyone was kind of hyping this one because it got leaked that there's 20-year Four Roses.
Whenever Bourbon News or a lot of those Instagram pages that release bourbon information post their things, we DM'd each other and we're like, 20-year Four Roses. Holy moly.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into that, so this one, 54.1%, so 108.2%. They got his barrel strength on there. MSRP is around 220-ish. If you don't trade for it. Okay, so what's the breakdown on this on the mash bill, shall we say? So 39%. And if you guys don't know already, Four Roses has 10 different recipes of the OEs and the SEs and the KEs. So I'm just going to read off everything, and hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
The eye doctor chart.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we got 39% 16-year OESF, 31% 12-year OBSV, 23% 15-year OESK, and the final 7% is a 20-year OBSV.
Thumbs up for that.
So you gotta say it's a 12-year, but you got predominantly 16 in here, and then little majority of 15 as well, and then just to round it out with a splash of 20 years.
A little Salt Bay droppings of 20 years.
But when you got nearly 40% of it is 16 year already,
yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
That's gotta be a good one. All right, so let's get to the nose of this. I mean,
so another peek behind the curtain. A lot of the times we'll just let them rip. We do a little popping bottles, and then we wanted to sit down and really have a moment with this before we hit record.
Yeah.
And the first thing as soon as it came up to my nose, and I gave it the first, I was like, holy cow! It's as if you open a humidor with cigar and leather and that kind of musty cigar notes to it, and then open up a spice cabinet. So it's one and the other. It smells so good. Almost like the Ron Burgundy, deep mahogany,
leather-bound books in my
anything
my house.
Like Ron Burgundy, Ron Swanson, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely get some spice on the nose on here. Yeah, a lot of it's a lot of oak on the note. Like you can smell the age in here.
So like there's oak, and then there's like leather and tobacco, and then what I typically like and look for in a Four Roses is all the spices. Like now I'm going to talk like KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, like herbs and spices, but that's literally what this is. Like clove and pepper and like nutmeg and
cinnamon.
Cinnamon, for sure cinnamon, but like all kinds of baking spices tossed with the oak and the leather and stuff like that.
All right, smells really, really good. All right, but we got to taste it. But before we do, we got to pay some bills. Greene Valley Wine and Spirits in Bolingbrook is the best liquor store in the southwest suburbs. Come see their newly expanded and remodeled location for all your liquor needs. They have a great craft beer selection, an ever-expanding portfolio of tequilas and bourbon, and a new wine rack showcasing the best wines around. And while you're there, stop by their newly added tasting bar to try all the Bourbon Bums store picks before you buy. That's Greene Valley Wine and Spirits, 344 Commons Drive at the corner of Route 53 and I-55 in Bolingbrook. And tell them the Bum sent you. Right. You ready to dive in?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's go. Ooh. The cue to Dougie.
Ooh. Yeah, shout out Dougie Freshness with the whoo. But yeah, I wanted to come in here and say, not worth it. I didn't want to like it. I really didn't. $220. There's 16, which shocked me when we did a little research. 16,000 of these bottles. That seemed to me like a good amount of bottles. I've never seen one out in the wild. Even at secondary, I haven't seen it at any of my local shops.
Oh, here it is on the back. Yeah, so I have bottle 14,588 of 16,660.
Yeah.
680, sorry.
And I understand, like, throughout the whole world, but predominantly U.S., like 16,000 bottles is not a lot of bottles, right?
It's not.
But, like, for it being a limited edition, I'm like, wow, that seemed like more than I expected.
Yeah.
That being said, like I mentioned, $220, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to like it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, some people get worried about, the ultra-aged bourbons. As they say, the barrel taking over you lose the flavor. But I don't get, because it's predominantly 16 year, and then you get enough of the 12 and the 15, where I think it's still, you get those great flavors. I don't get a lot of the...
It's not over oaked.
No, it's not over oaked at all. It's not chewy. I could say it's right on the cusp of it, but it doesn't cross over.
I think it's perfect amount of oak. We have the discussion where I don't like a lot of the Elijah Craig 18 or the Knob 18. I don't like the over oaked stuff.
Yeah.
And when you see 16, 20-year whiskey, there's a possibility you fuck that up. Not whatsoever.
No.
It's the perfect amount of oak balanced with like the floral.
Yep.
Almost like potpourri-ish aspect to it.
So I get a lot of sweetness on the front of this. I do get some chocolate, some caramel, some vanilla, but then in the end, I just get a lot of spice on there too.
Yeah, I don't get the chocolate as much as I get like the leather, the oak, the tobacco, the humidor aspect to it. But then, so one of the first whiskeys I really got into when we started this journey was the Four Roses Small Batch and the Four Roses Small Batch Select. And what I liked about those was that floral aspect at the end of it. And it doesn't lose that here.
Yeah.
It's quintessential Four Roses finish at the end.
Yeah, the finish is great. The palate is great. I think this lives up to the hype. I think it drinks at a 108 level. It's not punching up. It's not punching down. I think it's...
If I were to blind this, I would have probably thought it's closer to like 114, 115. Okay. But not ethanol-y and not like burning. No Kentucky hug.
No.
More of like the pepper and the spice.
You get that in the finish for sure. So I can see why you would think you could say, like, if you blinded it, it's like 115-ish because of the spice on the end of it.
But at the 108, it's like the perfect proof point for all of those things marrying, whether it's the age and everything else. Was this the same? They've all been 108, right?
No, that one's higher. So that's 114.2.
Oh, shit. I thought maybe last year's was 108.
Okay.
I know there was another 108. But I like that proof point, especially for this blend.
Yeah. All right, so what are we rating it?
It's hard not to say A.
Yeah, I would say too. This is going to be most likely on our whiskey of the year list.
Yeah.
I would say it's gonna be up there for sure.
And I'm gonna be honest with the people watching at home. I come in here almost prejudging highly allocated stuff because for the general public, you're not going to be able to find these bottles. So,
yeah. And if you do find them at a bourbon bar or something, you're going to be paying a crazy amount of money for a port.
As much as like, if I were to ever find one at $220, yeah, immediately buy it. But you're never going to do that. So it's like you're going to have to pay secondary pricing.
Or you gotta trade a few bottles.
Or you gotta trade some things like my man here. But like I mentioned, it's tough not to just give it a straight A.
Yeah.
I think it's earned that grade.
Right.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to try last year's 135th anniversary release. I was kind of bummed. I didn't really see places really had that in the menu, like Bourbon Books.
Not our local establishments, for sure not.
Yeah, I didn't see any places where I was like, I really want to try this. So I don't really have a benchmark to say like from last year. I really liked it compared to the 22 release, which is one of my favorites. But yeah, I gotta side by side these and just to see.
All right, maybe in a future video.
Yeah, maybe a future video. And if anyone has a 23 release and they want to come in and,
hey, you know what? That's a good idea. We had Erin. She shared their bottle of her birthday bourbon. If anyone wants to hop in on a Bourbon Bums review and share a bottle, especially an allocated bottle, don't give me no mellow corn. But if you want to come and do a review with us,
yeah,
the more the merrier. We say whiskey is best shared with friends. That's
true.
why we do the Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates. We do it all summer long at the south side of Chicago, in Lot B.
That's right.
If you want to share a bottle, feel free to hop on the YouTubes. Yes. It's not as easy as you think.
Leave us a comment, slide in the DMs, whatever you got to do. If you got a 23 Four Roses, you want to come in and do a blind or a side by side with us, reach out. But this was our Bourbon Bums review of Four Roses Limited Edition Small Batch 2024, presented by Greene Valley Wine and Spirits, 344 Commons Drive in Bolingbrook, Illinois. Stop in there for all your bourbon needs and tell them the bum sent you. And we'll be back very soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.